Welcome to the next part of my annual coloring book collection review. And this part I want to start from one of my favorite books. You can see that it's the first book by Jasmine B. Griffiths, and now I'm totally in love with this book. But our love wasn't the love from the first sight. In the very beginning, when I just started my coloring journey, I looked at this book, I looked at the book by Emily Lindehol Oberg, Sagar Oxagner, and I told myself, but how it's possible to color such terrible creatures which artists put on pages of their books? I don't know what has changed after this. Maybe, I don't know, maybe after I tried to color my first girl by Jasmine B. Griffiths, I wanted to color something for Halloween and her design was the only one available. I realized that it's my book for not for 100%, it's for 200% my book. And here I enjoy paper. I enjoy how my Prismacolors glide on this paper. I enjoy how they mix and how they are able to create beautiful color gradients. And this book, it allows me to work in colors which are not very traditional for me. And because of the fantasy designs, I don't have to think about realistic colors, about my usual color combos. I can experiment. And the only difficult thing for me was to decide how to do shading on faces of girls. After I decided that I actually don't want to do any uh, complicated shading, that I want to follow exactly the way that Jasmine B. Griffith herself did, a little bit shading around eyes, a little bit around nose, and that's all. Everything started to be very easy for me. It's another one of the books which I can color from beginning to the end. You can take away all my other books and I still won't be boring having just one this book. For some of the pictures I tried to add something from myself, like these tiny feathers on the dress or a feather mask. I love to color this book during Halloween time, during fall season. And in the very beginning I had only this book. Recently I got myself the whole collection. Now I own all four books by Jasmine, but unfortunately I have colored only in this one. And I hope that during the next year I will manage to change this and that I will be coloring in all of her books because, as I said, I am totally in love with them. Here is one of my favorite pictures. It's called Pipistrella and it's about a girl living in Venice who during the daytime is Venetian noble lady. So that's why I colored part of her dress like a beautiful rich Venice design for the noble lady, and during the nighttime she turns into a mistress of bats. So that's why the second part of her dress looks totally different. It was interesting to imagine this idea and to put it on paper, so I do love this picture. Another one of my favorite designs in this book. Usually when I start to color something, I try not to look at the original paintings by Jasmine B. Griffiths. I know that they are so beautiful that I immediately will be intimidating by the beauty of original designs. And I don't want to repeat the colors which Jasmine uses. Usually I color first and only then I look at the original painting. Sometimes I use ideas from one of the Jasmine paintings for for other pictures, not for exactly for the same picture, but if I watched nice color combo of dress and interesting hair color, I can apply it for some other designs. So in this way I do use paintings by Jasmine B. Griffiths. I really appreciate that in this book we have several smaller pictures that you're able to finish a very nice, very cute portrait by spending considerably shorter amount of time. I do love this oak and meat. I hope that you can see that it also has some golden details, so it's shiny. Amazing book. Now I am totally in love with it. I do love this pirate poly. For me, it was the first try to uh, color green hair. Maybe it's not something special, but you know that for a person who tends to color realistically, it was a step out of comfort zone. And it was interesting to do all the waves, ocean waves here with pencils. Everything is colored with Prismacolors. As I said, it's my favorite medium here. I don't think that I even want to try using watercolors here. I know that paper can handle watercolors, but maybe it's just not the medium which I can um, I don't know, connect with the style of Jasmine B's Griffiths. So for now, I am perfectly happy to color everything with pencils. Here, I am even not bored when I have to do the whole background using pencils. And you can see that pencils can create a very beautiful background, very beautiful atmosphere. Here I am much more easier can work with dark colors, with what is also not very usual for me. So I am grateful for this book that here I can practice how to work in limited color palette with dark colors. And of course, girls are so cute. Now I really started to appreciate them. Here it was difficult to select colors which would be different from all those pictures from other colors which I have previously seen. My idea here was that which is trying to create some spell from the book. You can see those green and golden sparkles from her magical wand which I added, and she tries to add to make them alive, all those skeletons, so they have started to have this green fire in their eyes. Maybe it sounds ridiculous that I try to imagine this story, but it really helps me to add my own touch to this page, at least something from myself, like this sparkles from magical wand. Because you know, when picture is quite popular, it's difficult not to repeat and to add something really creative and your own. I do love this Alice. That after I colored this page, I realized that I want to purchase the whole book dedicated to Alice. I did it, and I hadn't started to color in it yet, but I'm very happy that I finally managed to purchase the whole series. I'm very grateful to all my patrons who allows me to purchase these not very cheap books, but I love quality of Blue Angel Publishers books. Their paper is perfect for me. One of my favorite designs is this flora. It was very colorful, and again I tried not to look at the original paintings. It's beautiful, but still I wanted at least something from myself. Maybe other hair color, maybe other dress color, and I'm quite happy how it looks. Unfortunately, here I started another project and I hadn't finished it yet, but I'm sure that I will do it because I'm very happy how this beginning looks. That was flora, and this one is fauna. I totally don't know how to pronounce it because in my native language we call it fauna. So with all books pronounced, so sorry if I didn't pronounce it correctly in English. I will learn it until the moment when I finish this design. So Jasmine B Griffiths now is definitely one of my top favorite artists. And now we will be moving to my other favorite artist, which will be Selena Fenech. I know that you have probably seen this book recently already 100 times because I colored a lot of pictures here recently, but still, if I do the full review of my collection, I decided that I will be showing all pictures from this book. In the very beginning, when I just got this book, I struggled a lot with the paper, but still I loved these designs so much that I decided that I will find a way how to color in this book. And recently I realized that even if I can color with Prismacolors like I did here, still it's easier for me to color with slightly harder pencils or to combine both brands. So now I prefer to use Prismacolors and polychromases together. Here I love how I managed to show a play of light and shadows, because here we have quite dark page, so it was important to emphasize areas which have highlights and reflection of light from these candles. Here I'm glad that I managed to do this unusual color for the background, which doesn't distract attention from the mermaid. It was quite nice to color the tail of the mermaid. I can't say that I'm very happy with the look of the form, but still, honestly, I love all my finished pictures here. I know that I have a lot of work ahead of me in this book, but still I hope that I will be able to finish it. This one I also appreciate because it was very interesting to color, because light source is somewhere on the background, so everything is highlighted from behind, and I try to create a light halo around girls and on this part of the bear which is closer to the fireplace, so it was nice. There were some strange spots on the body of the bear, and I tried to mask them as much as possible. The Goose Girl is my recently finished picture. I did it in November, I believe, and here I mixed Prismacolors for the background, for the goose, and for the girl I used polychromases. I think that this will be my next project. This fairy tale is very familiar to me because it's from a Russian folklore, so I do want to do this page, but I want to do all pages here. Next finished project is this Princess and Bee. In the beginning I thought that I want to test this color combo of a very intense violet and muted blue and grey greens. In the end I realized that it's a little bit boring to color all the elements of the bed, but at least I managed not to lose this tiny bee, and it was nice to color dress of the girl. Again I mixed both pencil brands. Here I even managed to use a little bit of neocolors to create first layer on the leaves, and then I worked with Prismacolors. I wanted to do this green dress. It was my first idea when I looked at this. Also I tried to show that girl is highlighted, that sunshine is coming from the window, so that's why I added all those yellow highlights on the fabric. This is a 1-year-old work. I did it in previous December, and I used here Arteza together with Prismacolors. Prismacolors mostly for the fur and for the snow. Arteza, I believe, for the dress and maybe for the dark area of the sky, and for the mountains probably, so it was interesting. Besides, Artisa also behaved not so bad in this book on this paper. This one is my recent work. I published Kolorowanka for this page only a couple of days ago. I started to have difficulties with selection of color for the next dress. I already did like brown dress, green dress, magenta probably. Then I did all other colors and I totally ran out of ideas. So blue was my obvious choice here, and that's why I had to select contrast colors for the bed sheets. It's a little bit disappointing. I was quite happy when I did sands using Cartesian, a lot of interesting colors. Then with neo colors I managed to do this background, those swirls of smoke, and when I started to do face I created something dirty, so face is very disappointing for me. Another one of the works which I finished this month, 12 Dancing Princesses. My idea was that princesses which are on this side of the castle, they are dressed in heavy velvet dresses. You can see that colors are relatively dark, and when they crossed this magical door, they started to be dressed in light dresses in pastel colors prepared for dancing, and that's what I try to show here. And I try to show that light is coming from this magical door, so that's why from the center the figures are highlighted. And probably that's why I appreciate this book, because I can think about all those light and shadows, and for me it's a pleasure to calculate them and to show it the source of the light and shading on the picture. Here the idea was good. I tried to create something hiding in the forest, like maybe you can see those eyes of someone, but then it was one of my first works in this book. I started to struggle with paper, so maybe I didn't choose quite right colors. In the end, I'm happy how everything looks, but maybe Hansel and Gretel, they look a little bit pale comparing to the quite detailed and intense colors of the gingerbread house. I am glad that in this book, apart from beautiful ladies, we also have men portraits, and here it was interesting to color men, but of course the main character is Puss in Boots. It was so fun to do his fur. It's another one relatively old picture. Here I most of all wanted to do this background using color combo of oranges and olive greens. I always think that these two colors, they work nice together, and that's what I used here, and everything else was relatively easy. That's all for this book. I also have this Gothic mini. Here I have just one finished work. As usual, my bookmarks not on the finished works but on the pictures which I want to color. I did this very simple troll girl. Again, I struggled with pencils, but mostly here I used polychromoses, and for the background here Prismacolors, so mix again. Next I have this Victorian romance. Again, just one page finished, but I do love it. Here I messed up with the background. I think that I had to pay more attention to this area, but at least my background doesn't distract attention from the main characters. Here it was interesting to show all the reflections of the light coming from this lamp, from this lantern, on the hair, on the fabric of the dress, here also on the sleeve, on the arm. So it was instructive. I can't say that I'm totally happy here. I even managed to use Derwent drawings here for the part of the background. And I hope that I will continue to color this book because designs are amazing. I also downloaded description of this book. I hadn't read the whole novel, but at least I downloaded from Selena official site description of how main characters look, how they behave, of their magical properties, and the main story behind the book. So now for me it will be easier to color. You know that recently I got a lot of other books by Selena, but I hadn't colored in them yet, so they will be in another video where I will show you books which I own but where I didn't start to color. I haven't started to color yet. Another one book by Selena where I move quite steadily, maybe not very quickly, but still I try to add picture by picture to this book, and it's Australian animals. You know, I was so surprised. I thought that Selena is a great artist for persons, for depicting beautiful peoples, but when I received this book, I was surprised by the beauty of botanical designs and realistic details on animals. And I would say that despite all the problems with paper, and here they are even more important because for the fur, for all the details, you have to have better paper. It's easier to color. But still, because of the very realistic designs, for me it's easy to color here. Of course, each time I look at reference pictures, and from this book I learned a lot about Australian plants, flowers, animals and birds. So here I did koala, I did this echidna, and I even added this orchid from myself. I draw it to create a balance between these colors. Oh, I want so much to do everything here, from platypus to quokka. I love quokkas, they are so adorable. So, I don't know why, but birds are easier for me to color comparing to animals. Maybe it's because feathers are quicker to color comparing to texture of fur. Before this book, I never actually thought that such a beautiful and exotic birds existed. Yes, I knew that they existed, but I never paid too much attention to the details, how beautifully, how big is variety of colors on the feathers, how many colors you can find, even if the bird looks mostly black, but still you have many other colors, very interesting ornaments on the feathers. So for me it was really very interesting and very instructive. And about many exotic flowers I hadn't heard at all, so also very interesting. Here I even managed to do the whole background with pencils, but I think that it was my last attempt to do something similar on this paper. I didn't enjoy it, but for the idea of the night animals, it really suited this dark background. Now I prefer to do something lighter, like background made with soft pastels here. It was my first picture which I did here. Again, here I even used color softs and artisan, so when you got used to this paper, it's possible to color on it. Of course, it's not such a pleasure when you work on nice paper, but for me still the beauty of the designs, they are more important comparing to all the difficulties. Of course, here I have a lot of empty pictures, but I would say that my progress still isn't bad. And I think that we can move to another book where we have a lot of animals and birds. It's a book which was quite popular 4 years ago, and now it's totally abandoned by colorists. I am very fortunate to have this book. Yeah, it's quite big, so I have to adjust my camera, sorry. Yeah. So I'm fortunate to have this book in a Russian edition where it's printed on a very nice white and very thick paper, which is perfect for alcohol-based markers. Unfortunately, I also had abandoned this book, so all my works here, they are 3 years old and maybe even 4 years old. I started from doing this a very strange picture, but I wanted to test alcohol-based markers here. I had a limited amount of color, so that's why my lips have such unusual color. Also, I have this spread where I used together a little bit of markers, and where I didn't have necessary colors, I used Prismacolors. It was one of my first works when I needed picture for Halloween. I selected this one. It's completely colored with Copics. Now I look at this book and I realize that it's beautiful and I would like to color it. Everything here is made with alcohol-based markers. I only added a little bit of white gouache to the fur on the tails. And no, that's not all. That's my favorite work in this book. Here I used Derwent drawings and Prismacolors, but mostly drawings, with their beautiful muted and natural colors, and I would say that it still looks nice. I always wanted to do this octopus and this page with turtles. Very beautiful. A lot of amazing pictures. They are complicated because they have animals or birds, they have some botanical elements, realistic or more in fantasy way, and also a lot of ornaments like swirls, lines, dots, so that's why maybe it's not the easiest book to color. Another book which I got in my collection from the very beginning, 4 years ago or maybe older, it's another book by a Russian artist Olga Kalaboshkina. The name of the book is The Wind Carries Flowers Away, and edition is also very good quality of paper. And it's even bigger, so I again have to adjust my camera like this. Now let's have a look what I did here. Here I colored mostly with Inktense and color salts because they were my only available pencils. Here I started something, then I was disappointed in the initial idea. I don't know what to say. It's nice to look back at the pictures from the very beginning, more than 4 years old. They suit the style of this page. You know that I am not a huge lover to color all these ornaments or doodles or designs. Now I prefer animals in realistic look, but then it was fun to color. It was one of the first spreads which I colored for my channel, so in the beginning of this channel I colored this soft pastel, color softs, maybe even cheap Faber-Castell pencils for kids. Here I used Inktense, I believe, at least for part of the image. I can recognize them. I also used acrylic. I used some acrylic paints which I was able to find in our art stores. Everything what I managed to gather, I tried to use here. I don't know, maybe one day I will return to it, but definitely not now. It's simply not in my style. Even if some of the designs are really good, and actually I do love style of Olga Kalaboshkina, and I admire how she herself color her works. I subscribed to her Instagram profile and she colors her pictures in a very fantasy way. Her colors are amazing, but myself, I'm not sure that I will be able to color here and to enjoy it. Now let's switch to quite famous book. And again, I will have to adjust camera because this one is considerably smaller. So let's move a little bit. It's one of the books where I did a lot of pictures, but which unfortunately I don't know how to finish. I'm unable to explain it why I can't make this final step and to finish this book. When I got it, I started to color these name pages and I enjoyed it. And maybe it was my problem that after I did the most inspiring pages, I started to get bored from all those leaves and flowers. I used various mediums here. Here I used Inktense. Here I mostly used Prisma colors. You can see that on my earliest works I hadn't masked any black lines, and I wanted to maintain this look of the old Botanical album, so that's why I didn't add any fantasy backgrounds. I simply tried to do botanical elements and almost without any backgrounds. It was a moment when I started to realize that I don't have enough dark greens in my Prismacolor set, that I don't like dark green pencil, and it was a moment when first polychromoses were available in our art stores and I purchased myself first 10 green polychromos pencils for this book. I remember it. Some of the flower compositions here I still love a lot, like this one. Here I used watercolors to make some difference. I still love this one. I think that when I started to mask black lines, everything started to look much better. I admire many pictures finished in this book by other colorists where they add unusual fantasy backgrounds, but I think that I am unable to do it. For me, it's a book which have to be colored as close to real colors as possible. I simply don't have enough fantasy. I think that this is one of the designs which I actually can color. It's very nice, very inspiring, interesting to do. I know that I have to finish this one, and it's not so much to finish, mostly these flowers. I think that I simply was tired from doing all the background with pencils. Maybe it was the wrong choice of the medium, that's why I abandoned it. Sorry for the noises around, guys, but I can't ask my family to stay quiet all the time when I film videos, especially now when we have holidays, so sorry. This one I colored recently. I tried to do first layer on the petals using pastel colors of neon colors, then acrylic paint to mask all those black lines. It's still difficult for me to do realistic petals in pastel colors. when I want them not to look flat, when I want to add some volume to the flower. It's still not easy for me. I think that first I did a lot of pictures, just one after another, and then I realized they all have similar colors. All those blue, purple, pink, yellow. And that's when I started to be bored with this book. To color fall season from September to October and November, and even winter designs was more interesting because it allows me to use bigger variety of colors. Here was my first attempt to use watercolors in this book, and I discovered how well this paper behaves with watercolors. It was my first attempt to do something different for the background here because I wanted these light flowers to pop up, and I can't say if I'm happy with it or not. Maybe I had to maintain the style of this book with light backgrounds. I remember that I really enjoyed doing this one with all the berries, all the variety of colors on the leaves. I have one unfinished page for October. Oh, I did this in the beginning of autumn, maybe in September. It was a very unsuccessful attempt to use various green watercolors for various leaves. I would say that it was total disaster. Only couple of leaves like this one or maybe this one look not too bad, and some of the berries, but the rest, the biggest leaves, they look terribly flat. Here I combined Inktense and Prismacolors. This one is completely colored with Inktense pencils, and again I was surprised that it's possible to use Inktense in totally different way comparing to how I use them in Lizzie Maricannan's book. Here they truly look like watercolors very beautifully. Here I used different graphitins in various ways, so it was very interesting to do. And that's my almost completed flower yearbook. I thank you for watching another part of my annual review of all coloring books and all colored pages. Thanks for spending time with me during your holidays, and until the next video.